Joining me now, Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey and Republican Congressman Tom Reed from New York. They are, of course, the co-chairs of the Problem Solvers Caucus. Congressman Reed, to you first. Do you share the same concerns as Senator Graham after yesterday's briefing?
You know, when it comes to escalation and engagement in Syria, obviously there's a concern there. But what I saw in the president's action, I think, was reasonable and appropriate. And going forward, though, I do hope he engages with Congress in order to get that prior approval.
So hold on a sec. You think what President Trump did was reasonable? In 2013, under President Obama, you opposed action in Syria, and that was after a chemical attack. So what's different besides a Republican president versus Democrat one?
No, and as we took that position in 2013 because we were looking at a situation where we were going to put boots on the ground. That was the request that was coming up to us in Congress. And what we saw here was a reasonable approach to a chemical attack to take out that chemical capability. And to me, that's a reasonable approach. And if President Obama wanted to do that, I would have encouraged and supported that previously. But what we were talking about is a completely different situation back in 2013.
Josh, you were not in office back in 2013, but after hearing yesterday's briefing, are you confident with our long-term strategy?
Well, I think Assad's actions were heinous. I think we could all agree on that. I think it was good that we had the allies on board and we responded. But I think, as you've heard from others, including Lindsey Graham, we need a broad strategy here. I think that's critical for long-term. And also, I want the president and the administration to come to Congress for approval if they plan to escalate. So I think there's pieces here that it was the right response, but I'm concerned that we need a broader strategy.
And Stephanie, if I could, this is why it's important. As Democrats and Republicans, we come together, we talk about military force and putting our men and women in harm's way. I'm so glad that guys like Josh and I can find common ground on issues such as that.
Somebody else who found a lot of common ground on the other side of the aisle was Charlie Dent. He announced plans to resign next month. He's not even going to finish out his term, and he's joining what seems to be a long list of Republicans leaving Congress. What do you make of this, Tom?
Well, you know, obviously Charlie has done great work being a leader here in Congress, and he's going to do well in his post-congressional career. But, you know, there are people that are just sick and tired of the gridlock. I share that frustration, and I think that's what's driving a lot of members to leave, and that we're not getting everything done that we want to get done for the American people back home. And that's what the frustration and this partisan polarization is pushing people out the door. And that's why we're trying to change that.
And I think, if I can say that, Stephanie, I think Charlie leaving is a huge for the institution.
But wait, hold on a second.
Oh, sorry.
Republicans run the show. So if that's the case, why would Charlie be frustrated with the gridlock? You don't actually need Democrats. You can get a lot done.
Well, I think when you got 60-vote thresholds in the Senate, that's part of the issue. But it's also the polarization. It's the extremism on the left and right that frustrates a lot of members, because we can cut through that extremism so long as we continue to work on the common ground. And that's where we're that polarization is so strong that is not happening.
All right, well, then let's talk about Democrats, Josh, because Politico is reporting that Joe Crowley, Democratic congressman, is angling to become the next House Democratic leader. Do you think your party needs new leadership? I mean, it's easy to go after the party in power, but it's unclear what the Democrats' next game plan is. I haven't heard a plan for infrastructure from you guys.
Well, our game plan is to actually win in November for now, and then we'll worry about the next step.
Win and deliver what? Do you think you need a Joe Crowley?
Well, I think whoever is going to be in charge, we need people who are willing to actually talk to both sides. Just to add what you were talking about before, Stephanie, my biggest frustration and our caucus, what we've done, the Problem Solvers Caucus, is on immigration, on infrastructure, on health care. We've actually put together bipartisan agreements, had a huge block of people, and you can't get things to the floor.
Why?
Because leadership won't allow a vote on the floor.
So it's incredibly
So that's what I'd actually like to see changed. I don't care if Democrats are in charge or Republicans in charge, whoever the next leader is. I think we need an actual commitment to start having real debate and to govern again.
Then quickly,
and I think why Charlie, I've talked to Charlie a lot about this, and it's a great loss to the institution. I think he agrees with us. We need to start governing, and that starts with talking to each other and actually having real debate on the floor instead of just going to the wings and letting them control things.
Then before we go, Tom, you explain it to me. Problem Solvers Caucus does great work, and you can't get your work to the big stage. Why not?
Well, because of that top-down approach, and this is not unique to Republican speakerships. You talk to folks that were here under prior speakerships in the Democratic hands.
But you don't have to go back in history. You got Mitch McConnell today. Why isn't Mitch McConnell giving you that opportunity, Tom? He's your boy.
Well, Well, that's over in the Senate, and that's part of the problem. And I've always been a House guy, and I've given up trying to figure out what's going on in the Senate in regards to why they won't legislate there.
But you're frustrated.
But I'm frustrated, absolutely, because it's a top-down approach, and what we're trying to change is we are a bottom-up type of organization to get to yes. That's what the Problem Solvers Caucus is all about. And we're putting pressure on our leadership, and that is what's going to force more of these debates on the floor of the House.
Stephanie, you're right. It's got to change. This has to change.
I'm happy to hang at the bottom with you two and start pushing up. Thank you both, guys. I appreciate it.